Show number 260. Hope you guys are doing well. Show 260 since we started in June of 2020. We started doing these live streams. We are at the 260th live stream today. Hope you guys are well. Um, Today's a special show. It's not a music show today, as you could tell. The keyboard's in the back, and I am in the chair, in the office chair. So we're going to try a little bit of an experiment, see how that works. Uh, I believe the chat is in play, meaning I should be able to see what you guys write to me. Although in the past that has not happened. Yesterday I could not. Nobody wrote to me, even though you guys did, but I never saw it until after the show. So hopefully we're gonna do that. But today we are going to talk about how I wrote Daniel in Babylon. We'll talk about the new release of Schlock Rock 40, Schlock Rock 40, the Big Six, the new release, which will be coming out any day. We're going to say hello to our associate producer, Judy Hertzfeld, who is here. And she is not here in Israel, but she is across the way in somewhere in New Jersey. I know, somewhere in New Jersey. So today is Dallas Stars night. We are paying tribute to the Dallas Stars who lost in the semifinals to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Now we have a Stanley Cup final of the Las Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars. So those, the Florida Panthers. Las Vegas Knights, Florida Panthers. But they're not called the Las Vegas. They're called the Vegas Golden Knights. There's no Las. The Vegas Golden Knights. Anyway, so today's show brought to you by the Four Corners Project. The Four Corners Project, a 501c3 organization that spreads Jewish education through music and media. Make sure you go to www.fourcornersproject.org. And let's get a little caption up there. Let's see if we can get a caption up there. Here we go. There we go. www.4cornersproject.org and make a donation. There's a whole bunch of reasons to make a donation. I'm going to tell you about it right now. But first, let's go back in time because today is a special day. It is the 11th year. It's the 11th anniversary since I finished the first draft of Daniel in Babylon. Daniel in Babylon was my third musical that I've written. You're going to say, Lenny, I've never heard of any of your musicals. Well, that's because it takes a lot of money to put them on. A lot. Oh, we're going to say hello to my sister Judith, chirping in from Bayswater, New York, Far Rockaway. We say hello to her. Anyway, so it just costs a lot of money to put these things on. So we will get it done. It will get done, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you. And it will be with your help. That's the only way this thing's going to happen. But I want to see all your comments. Good. So we know we have 2 YouTube followers that have already chirped in. Judy from YouTube and my sister Judith from YouTube. Now we need people from LinkedIn, Facebook. I want to see Twitter. Judith's in Kew Gardens, New York. She's at my mother's in Kew Gardens, Queens. Okay. So let's go back in time now to 2012, 11 years ago. It's March 2012, and I am in Phoenix, Arizona. Why am I in Phoenix, Arizona? Well, why am I anywhere? The answer is Schlock Rock concerts. Whenever we go to these places, we do a Schlock Rock concert. In this case, we were performing at the Phoenix Hebrew Academy. And the head of Jewish studies at this time was Rabbi Avichai Pepper. Rabbi Avichai Pepper turns around to me and he says, Lenny, would you like a little seltzer? He says to me. Actually, that's not what he said. What he said was, we're going to pour some seltzer. What Avichai Pepper said to me was, have you ever read the story of Daniel? And I said, no, I've never. Because the truth is, we don't learn Daniel in yeshiva. I went to MTA, I went to Yeshiva Central Queens. Daniel is in the back of the Tanakh. It's in the Ketuvot section of the Tanakh. The Ketuvot means the writings by Ezra, Nehemiah, the 5 Megillot, Mishle, which is Proverbs, Divrei Hayamim, which is Chronicles. It's all the way in the back. So we don't learn it. It's just not done. You don't really learn Daniel unless until you get older, and then you say, "Oh, you know what? Let me take a course in Daniel, or let me go to a YouTube." There's a lot of YouTube classes on Daniel. So I read the book, and I read the story, the Sefer Daniel, and I said, "Wow, this is unbelievable. This is action. It's drama." And lo and behold, I decided I would write a musical on the Book of Daniel, and the name of the musical is called Daniel in Babylon. But that was just the beginning, because at that point, I went back to Queens. I had a meeting with a teacher or professor of biblical criticism in Hebrew University. And he actually lives across the street from me, but he was on fellowship in New York. So I met with him and his wife, Michael and Eliza Siegel, and I said to them, okay, we're going to do a musical on Daniel. How would you write it? And he said, you write it using the text. Don't use Midrashim. Don't use Zohar. Don't use legend. Use text. Because when you write it for text, then the whole world will be able to relate to it because the both the non-Jewish community and the Jewish community have the same book of Daniel. It's the text is the same. I said, very interesting. So, and that's how I got started. After my consultation with him, I went back to Israel and I started writing. But if I tell you, writing, it was unbelievable. In the next 2 months, I wrote 26 songs. And today, May 31st, 2012, 11 years ago, I finished the last song of the musical. And I walked around the house. It was as if I had received prophecy. When you write songs, ladies and gentlemen, it's like you're receiving prophecy. It's an unbelievable thing. You're on a high. You're on a people talk to you. You're not listening to them. You can't hear them. You're on another planet. And no, I did not do drugs. For the record, I have never done drugs because I believe in protecting your hard drive. Your hard drive is up there. And so I do not do drugs. However, when you write music, you are on a high. You're on a creative high, and it's fantastic. It's really fantastic. So there I was, and I started writing songs, and the songs started coming down like water. Every morning, I would go to the piano. I would take my art scroll, Daniel, and I would look at the story, and I would start writing lyrics, and I would start writing music, and the music would come down from heaven, and I would write those songs. I would start writing, and then I went up to the computer and I put it into the computer, and then I made some changes. I came down and I started, and I did that, and I kept going until I kept working my way through the musical until finally, from the end of March 31st to May 31st, I wrote the entire thing, and it was unbelievable. I knew it was going to be unbelievable. Now here's where things get slowed down a little bit because first thing is I was spoiled by Hashem. Hashem is God, by the way. For those of you out there that don't know what Hashem is God. God spoiled me with my first band, Schlock Rock. It was my second band, but Schlock Rock, my career from 1988, let's call it, to 2000 till now. But when I put out my first Schlock Rock album, the phone rang off the hook. Gigs, gigs, gigs. We want you here. We want you there. In 1990, I went to Anchorage, Alaska. In 1987, I went to Australia. In 1988, I went to South Africa, and so on and so on and so on. So, and Israel and Canada and England, and we went everywhere. It was great. Um, and the shows, they kept on coming. We've played all 50 states. You guys know all this already. We've 2,000 shows. But I was spoiled because I didn't do anything. I just wrote. I wrote, went into the studio, recorded, released, went around with the original band, Gary Wallen on drums, Mark Skyer on bass, Mark Infield on percussion, backup keyboard, backup sax, Danny Block on sax, Yona Lloyd on guitar, and myself. Six of us. And then we had the peripheral guys, JJ Greenberg, Oliver Shalom, who was a rapper, and David Winter, Dr. D, was also a rapper. And then there was the Kraz writing all the shtick. So we would go into the studio and we would do albums, and then we would sell them, and people wanted them, and I would get letters. Unbelievable. It was unbelievable. So I was spoiled. Here I was, everything that I had done just zoomed. Daniel was a different story. Daniel, when I put it out, you know, First thing was my third musical. So let's go back to my second musical. My second musical was called Who Gets the House? And I wrote it with a playwright who's unfortunately not alive anymore. He died around 10 years ago. His name was Mark Troy. He went to Queens College with me. He was a Jewish boy from Queens, just like I was. We were in Queens College together, and I was the pianist in the Yiddish singing class, where him and his comedy partner Gideon Lockspieser, the two of them were in this Yiddish singing class, and I would accompany. Everybody would sing Yiddish songs, and I was the accompanist. Yes, I didn't only do schlock rock my whole life. That's I thought it was a pretty funny joke. Anyway, so you guys feel free to chime on in. Right now, I've only gotten people chiming in from YouTube. I want to see people from Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter as well. If you can, I don't know if you can chime in from Twitter. Anyway, so Who Gets the House? Same similar type of story, and then I'm going to get back to Daniel and Babylon. I called up Mark Troy. Now, I hadn't spoken to him in a bunch of years, but I said, Mark, we're going to write a musical together. Now, Mark was a playwright. He had written 40 plays, and they were all produced. He says, Lenny, I'm in. I've never written a musical. What are we? He had written a musical with me before in '83 when I was a senior in college with him, but we didn't talk about that. That was called The Hunch. It's a spoof on the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I said, okay, Mark, we're writing a musical. He says, what's it about? I go, it's about Bruegges. He says, what's Bruegges? I said, go ask your parents. So he calls up his parents and he calls me back. He said, we have had tons of Bruegges in our family. Bruegges is family infighting. Or it's not only family infighting, it could be infighting between you and friends where something happens and you're Bruegges, you don't talk to them. So he wrote this story. He wrote a 75-page act one all about this couple retiring in Queens and moving to Boca Raton. And their two dysfunctional children with their spouses are fighting over who gets the house. And that was the name of it, Who Gets the House. He sent me 75 pages of Act One, and I immediately rattled off 15 songs. How did I do that? Because when you are in the groove, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, gives you this pipeline of creativity, and you just write and write and write and write and write. I wrote 15 songs. He loved the songs. He takes a couple of those songs, he moves them to Act Two, and then he writes another 55 pages. And I wrote 11 songs in 6 days for those Act Two. So we had already 26 songs. He eliminated 5. We had 21 songs for this musical. And it was called Who Gets the House? And we had a reading. For those of you who don't know what a reading is, that's where you go to a theater and then actors read their parts, the parts of the play, and people listen. And that's what happened. So we read, he we had this reading in Burbank, California. It was very exciting. And then all the actors send in their comments. Well, this is really good. This needs to be changed. I think this could play anywhere. Somebody. So, one of the people reading the lead female role was Stephanie Zimbalist Jr. She was in Remington Steele. So, like, there were real people, real actors who were in this thing. Now, but it never came out. Why didn't it come out? Because it cost money. It cost a lot of money, and we never got it. And then Mark passed away suddenly in 2000, and it was 10 years ago, 2013. I think it was, I don't remember. Maybe sometime. Anyway, I thought he was 52, which would be around 10 years ago. He was very funny, very fabulous guy, and also a great, great writer. We were a great team. He would send me this thing, I would get inspired, and boom, I would write, and he would write, and he always loved what I wrote. And then, but that set me up to write Daniel, because once I I had done Who Gets the House, my third musical, which was Daniel in Babylon, I was able to write it. And so every day in the morning, I would go over to the piano, put the art scroll Daniel there, go through the words, say, okay, the song's going to be this. We're telling the story like this. This is what we're doing. And it worked. And it was so powerful. The writing was so powerful that I remember my father-in-law, may he rest in peace, he was taking me back to the airport in England. I had just played a Yom Ha'atzmaut 2-day, like 3 concerts or so in England, and he was taking me back to Heathrow, London Heathrow, and all of a sudden this song starts coming down, and I said, "Not now! I can't write now. What am I going to do? I can't write it now." But it came down, and I and I wrote and I said, okay, bring it on, bring it on. So, I didn't remember it because it came down and then it went out of my head. But I always felt I had confidence that it was going to come back to me, and lo and behold, it did. It was the third song of the musical called Seeds, and it came back to me, and I wrote the song down. And then after that, I went after the musical. Kept writing more songs until finally on May 31st, I finish the musical. So now in June, I invite 15 couples to listen to the whole thing. But they didn't listen to the whole thing. I played 17 out of the 26 songs. And then I went, and at the end of August, I had a trip to Australia. And during that time, I did a Kickstarter campaign where I raised $37,000 in 30 days. And then in October, um, in November, I came into America and we recorded it with an orchestra and with a cast. One of the most fabulous experiences ever. Because you guys realize you're starting off with nothing and you go into something, and then you have to record it, and then it becomes like a production. It's just a wild experience. For all of you out there that have this creative streak in you or this creative talent in you, that it's just an amazing feeling. You go from just a song on a piece of paper, words and notes on a piece of paper to studio and and all that stuff. So here we go, and now in January of 2013, the double CD Daniel in Babylon is finished, and now it's time to try to make this project happen. So I form a LLC for an off Broadway production with $1 million budget. Nice, except that you have to raise $1 million. And I wasn't successful in that, but I did raise $235,000. Now, that's not enough. And so after 16 months or so, it goes back. I sent all the money back to the investors. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. I figured, okay, Hashem doesn't want it to happen this way. In the meantime, I get a call from a Broadway producer who had been in somebody's sukkah in Baltimore, and he calls me up and he says, if you check your ego at the door and work with me, we will get this thing ready for Broadway. And I have the ear of some big time producers. And he's a very nice guy. And I did. I worked with him for a year. And I wrote 7 new songs, took out some songs, adjusted some songs. And at the end of 2014, it was now 2013, maybe it was 2015 already. It didn't work out with him because we couldn't get it together. He didn't, what he wanted to do, I didn't want to do. We didn't see eye to eye on the project. So now that we decide, I'm with my friend in a pizza place, and she says, why don't we make a movie? Oh, okay, let's make a movie. So the problem with making a movie again is it costs between $5 and $10 million to make a movie. It was always about raising the money. So I met, though, through this project, Kay Cole, who's our director choreographer to this day. She's going to produce this thing when it happens. So now we're in 2016 or 2015, I think, whatever it is. And it doesn't work out. The movie thing doesn't work out because we can't raise the money. Again, I raised another couple of $100,000, but it was not enough. So Steve Ettinger pipes in. This story sounds more like Mel Brooks, the producers. That's correct. And not only Mel Brooks, the producers, every single musical, every single movie. These things take 10, 15 years sometimes. I'm hoping mine will take 11 years because we're up to 11 years. Although you can't really count 3 years of COVID. I'm thinking it's really year 8. If you do, you got to be fair about this. So here we are. And now I am now the producer of Daniel in Babylon. I have my director choreographer with Kay Cole, and we hire somebody also as a co-producer, but he doesn't work out. It was a whole year in LA. He also was all about money. Couldn't raise money. Nobody could raise money except for me. But I wasn't able to raise the amount needed. I only could raise like a little bit. So Mel Brooks, by the way, yeah, he took him a long time to get, and you know how long it took him to get the money for Young Frankenstein? Forever, because well, maybe no, it was the producers. It was the producers that took a long time. But even Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles took a long time to raise money. You have to get the ear of the producer. You have to get people with means who believe in you. Um, anyway, so here we are now. It's 2016, 2017, and we start talking about pivoting, which means we'll do a short run in a theater and go back to theater instead of movie. Not bad. I get a budget, and what happens? It's now 2018 or 19. COVID hits. The next 3 years are gone, but something opens up. What opens up? The what opens up is the theatrical live stream where you film the production on stage and then you upload it and people can download it and watch it in their homes. And that's instead of going to the Broadway theater because nobody could go because you can't sit next to each other because everybody's got a mask and it's got to be properly distanced. So all of a sudden, the theatrical live stream becomes a thing. Disney purchases the rights to Hamilton, and then there's Princess Diana the musical that opens up on theatrical live stream before it opens up on in theaters in Broadway. Now it closed 2 weeks into it was not good. Got panned by everybody. I watched around 20 minutes of it and then shut it off. So, but and then there was a musical Come From Away, which was a famous musical. It's still playing, I believe, today, and that also was a theatrical live stream. So theatrical live stream becomes a thing, and that is becomes our direction, and that's where we are today. So what all of this story that I told you in our 11th anniversary special show on the making of Daniel in Babylon, which is not over yet, because what we still have to do is we have to put it out, and that means I have to raise the money. Except I don't have to raise a lot. We have to raise a couple of $100,000, and we're there. So I'm asking everybody right now. You have two options. One is you could make a donation to the Four Corners Project and earmark it for Daniel in Babylon because the Four Corners Project, which is a 501c3 corp, which is how not for profit organization, which is how I started this performance today. Their motto is to spread education or Jewish education through music and media. So therefore, they fit in perfectly with Daniel in Babylon, which teaches the story of Daniel, but it does it in a cool, hip way, and it's an unbelievable story. Because I'm biased, I wrote it. We know this, Steve. What can I tell you? So that's the story. So you can either donate to the Four Corners Project, or if you want to invest, just email me directly. Very, very easy. schlockrock1@gmail.com or Lenny at schlockrock.com. Either one. There's on the ticker, it keeps going around and around and around. So I've actually spoken for 23 minutes so far, all on this, but I knew this was going to be a long show tonight. And no music. There's no music. It's a non-music show. Now, I want to tell you another thing. This will happen, Bezrat Hashem, with God's help. It's going to happen. Why did it take so long? There must be a reason. I don't know what the reason is. I don't know, because Schlockrock just went and went and went. I didn't have to do anything. It just was amazing. When I wrote Daniel, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be fabulous. But it takes time and it takes money, and it's not a little bit of money. It's a lot of money. So everybody out there, that's my message for show 260 for Lenny Solomon Live, is to, if you're interested, tell your friends. If you know people that are interested, the investment is not a big investment if you want to buy a share in the musical. So that's the first thing. Second thing is new album coming out, Schlockrock 40, The Big Six. It will be available soon. I'll let you know, but probably today's Wednesday, by next Sunday, Monday, it'll already be available on hopefully iTunes, on schlockrock.com, on all these things. It's such a great album, and we're making more music videos. So album number 40 and album number 42 will be done, and then I will start working on Schlock Rock 41 Old School, which is parodies from the 70s and 80s. And that is going to be fabulous. Of course, we still have deep down in the future Schlockapella 2. We're going to do some great things there. And there's some news me wrote also that I've written. That'll be another album. And then then I have more musicals that I want to write. But first, let's get this one out. Everybody, I hope you've had a good time. Now, this show has been Le'ilui Nishmat Chana Tova Chaya Bat Pesha, Paula Pesha, who just passed away today. I'm not going to tell you her English name, but I played her wedding, and she also, her first date with her husband was at a Schlock Rock concert. Sometimes things are not always so happy. In this case, if I get permission, I'll tell you her story. But I will say that I hope she finds peace. Leila Nishmat. She should have be a Melitz Yosher. She should be a good, what's the word? A special merit for her family, that they have great lives. And yeah, and that's our show today. And our associate producer is giving me the thumbs up. So everybody out there, we will see you next week. I think Monday night. Oh, Monday night I've got a wedding, June 5th. So it'll probably be Tuesday, Thursday next week. Tuesday, Thursday next week, we'll have 2 shows, music shows. Be in touch with me if you have anybody that might want to invest in this musical. Be in touch with me if you want to be invested in this musical, or if you just want to give a donation for the musical. Daniel in Babylon is a must. It's a must, everybody. We are celebrating it. I thank Hashem for giving me the opportunity to write it. It was just one of the greatest experiences of my life, writing that musical. And my wife can verify that, because the whole time she was talking to me, I couldn't hear anything. I was on another planet. Anyway, so we did get a LinkedIn person writing to me. We did get YouTube. I didn't get any Facebook people writing to me. It's not coming in on Facebook. I don't know why. I'm going to try to talk to the Restream people. I know you must have been writing to me while I'm playing. I'll take a look at the comments after the show. Keep on schlocking, everybody. Lenny Solomon Live, show 260, over and out. We will see you next week, and it was fun.